Hello and welcome back to Misrepresented. I'm your host, Lisa Opie, and I'm actually really excited because this is like our first repeat guest, and I just need like a whole like life update from you because you went to Malaysia, competed. Before we get into it though, we do have to shout out some sponsors. So
Yes.
I do want to thank Pink Apple Dresses for dressing us so fabulous today. I'm loving this vibe right now. You look like supermodel.
Thank you. I wish I could show the pants as well. They're like super cute, flared, but they have that V shape, so it's
I
very
love it.
flattering, makes you very snatched. I love it.
It looks so soft. And like the
Thank
flower
you.
details are so
Yes,
in right
yes.
now. And our earrings are from LadyCode. Love it. Okay, so since you're like giving supermodel right now, let's just talk
Thank
about
you.
the model pageant first. So what was it like getting to Asia? Did you create content? I want to like follow up on everything we talked about.
Like I said earlier, I'm not good at remembering to create content. I did do it for the stopover tours though. So when I was in Malaysia and Hong Kong, I did make sure to have some content in for those 6-hour layovers that I had to do 3-hour free tours at their airport stops. But for the pageant, fashion show, modeling competition, Asian model icon, I think the biggest takeaway that I didn't see coming was how diverse Malaysia is in terms of Asia. Like it really was the perfect place to host Asian model icon because you had so many people from, and the languages, like most people from Malaysia speak 4 different languages.
Are you serious? What are
Yes.
they?
So it's like Malay, English, Tamil, which is like the Indian language,
What?
and some sort of Chinese. So it could either be Cantonese or Mandarin. And to me, like my family speaks Cantonese in Hong Kong, but growing up here, I've definitely spoken more English, and living in Miami too, there's really nobody I can speak Cantonese with. So it was the first time I could speak Cantonese with people outside of my family.
Wait, seriously?
Yes.
Were you nervous? Was it weird?
It was scary at first because I could understand them, and they were talking about how to do the production, or they're talking backstage with the photographers and the assistants and the makeup artists. And I realized I'm like, I know what they're saying, and I can even tell them. And then the Miss China, she's from Shenzhen, which is like South China, where a lot of people speak Cantonese, because most people in China overall speak Mandarin.
Okay.
So I could speak Cantonese with her, but she only spoke Cantonese and Mandarin. She didn't speak English. And in any international pageant, that is how you master your language. You speak to somebody who doesn't know English, but only knows the other language you know.
Yeah, because then you're forced to use that language.
That's what happened to me with Spanish in the other international pageants I did. So with the Cantonese, I could translate to her, to another staff member who didn't speak Cantonese. There were Indian contestants who knew how to speak Cantonese. That blew my mind.
Yeah. I'm so surprised.
And again, it was just kind of cool because I got to be surrounded by so many different types of Asian people. I get to hear so many people like I do in Hong Kong and then some. So you see the Malaysian food, the Indian food, the Chinese food, and Chinese New Year celebrations and different things going on. So I'm like, oh, I felt in a way like I got closer to my culture because I think I never did an Asian pageant because I wanted to be that,
the token Asian girl.
Or I wanted to be like
representation.
I wanted to be the representation for these American pageants or American fashion shows. I wanted to prove that, it's Miss USA didn't have to be the, stereotypical blonde hair, blue eyed. She can also be a very Chinese American looking girl. And I was so gung ho about that it kind of took away from that opportunity to really embrace that culture that I have and all the beauty that it has in it too.
That.
So for that, I was like so grateful
for.
Oh
my gosh. So I love like following all of your social media updates. You made like top 3, right? You were like up there.
Yes, I was first runner up.
That's
super
huge.
Exciting.
So what were the elements of competition?
It was really just, okay, so there was like not an interview. You just showed up in like basically like what you'd wear to digitals, like black top, black pants. You walk in front of like a panel of judges and you do a quick intro. And then there was like a avant-garde competition. I just had
sounds really fun.
Evening gown, but it was still a pretty evening gown. It was from Jonathan Kane. It was one of our sponsors for Nation of States because Nation of States sent me to Asian Model Icon. And then the other one was a fitted black dress with a lot of accessories. So they wanted it to be more of a fashion show. Also, it was the first pageant I did, or pageant fashion show, that had a lot of male contestants. So,
wow. But they're in their own category?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So it was like a male modeling competition for them where they had the avant-garde, the black, like we all did the different events together. And it was cool. I was like, oh, this was really chill. Like they all, and for me, honestly, I still was so jet lagged from the US that by like 6 or 7 p.m. I'm like, oh
my gosh,
okay,
jet lag is the worst.
And they all wanted to go out, and because most of them are from Asian countries, so their time difference isn't that bad. So they want to go out and go to a bar and go to a restaurant. I'm like, I just want to sleep. Like,
oh my gosh, were there any other people from like the States?
No, it was just me.
Wow.
Yes,
okay.
yes. So cool experience for sure. There was a few people from Australia as well. So I think they weren't too bad on the time difference. They were still ready to go out. No. Yeah. I was already like, but at 4 a.m, I'd be like, oh, wide awake. What do I do?
And you can't go back to sleep.
Nope. So I was just ironing my clothes.
I could think of 100 other things to do before I would iron.
True. But I was like, what can I do that's quiet, that consumes my time, that's whatever. Okay.
And productive.
Yes, exactly.
So, okay, we have a ton of like new life updates, and I told you not to tell me until we're on the podcast.
Yes.
It sounds really scary from what you told me. So dive in.
Oh gosh. Okay. So after Malaysia, I had this corporate IT job. So I guess keyword had.
Time, right?
Yes. And that really was, I think, with my parents as immigrant entrepreneurs, I knew as a kid that like I actually really wanted that 9-to-5 job. I wanted the corporate office job that's in a cubicle, that, I have this sense of
the stability.
Yes. Stability, structure. To me, that was that American dream. So, and I was always wondering with other people, like, why do people not like the 9-to-5? Why do they make it sound bad? To me, it's so comfortable. Like once you're done at 5, because I was a big nerd in school. So after school, I had to do a lot of homework. And so I was like, I felt like with that, you're working 24/7. Once it's 5 o'clock, you're done and you can do absolutely anything you want.
Yeah. It's like school.
It's school without homework.
Yeah.
So it's even better. So I was like, oh, this sounds great. So I had been working corporate for 5 years, and then unfortunately, just about a few weeks ago, I was laid off. So the position that I had as an IT analyst wasn't available anymore.
And can I ask like what the reasoning was behind that? Like, was it like a budget, or is it the AI thing?
The company budget, not AI.
Okay.
It could have been actually, but I wouldn't be shocked. But I think for them at the company right now, they're restructuring, they're figuring out their different models. They had to lay off several employees as well, aside from me. So they did see if it was possible I could look into perhaps another position. But I think, even when I was crowned Miss Nation of States, I kind of knew in the back of my mind, like, ooh, this is the time that I can do everything I always wanted to do, as I aspired at that time to be Miss USA for a few years. It was going to that United Nations, to New York Fashion Week, to having those events and activities. And then, what happens after you have those big national titles is you usually move on to do other things than corporate. So for me, and, on the side, I have these like jobbies, side hustles that were web design and modeling. And I was turning down so many opportunities after I was crowned Miss Nation of States that I was like, man, wouldn't it be so cool if I could, do all of these things and then some. So I already had this feeling that eventually I would focus more on my entrepreneurial endeavors. I wish it was on my own terms. I wish, of course, that it was like I could say, yes, I'm ready.
But I feel like it's the universe like pushing you into it. It's like it's now or never. So sorry.
Yes. And luckily, again, I'm very privileged. I'm very fortunate that timing wise, like in a way, it was like my choice to say, hey, like I'm gonna, like worst case scenario, I can always go back to corporate. But I've always wanted to do the entrepreneurial route as well. Again, I think with my parents being immigrant entrepreneurs, it kind of like inspired me, and I've always wanted to follow in that kind of path, but it's so scary. Like, I don't know how you do it.
I know. I feel like for me, like, I kind of didn't have a choice. I mean, I just knew that, like, corporate wasn't for me. I feel like I've gotten fired from every job I've ever had just because it's not the right fit for me.
Okay.
And I just had all these ideas, and I was just kind of forced into it. Like, I don't know if you know the story about this guy at swimwear.
I know you made it during Miss United States.
Yeah. Yes. And it just kind of, like, one thing led to another. So, like, I made top 5. I wasn't meant to win that pageant. I was meant to get this sponsorship deal that really got the brand off the ground. And it was just like it just kind of like snowballed from there.
Yeah, because you've been between the swimwear and the makeup and whatever. You're the official sponsor for like every pageant system, every country that I see. It's incredible.
Yeah, we love pageants. Like I love it so much. So I'm so happy.
Yes, and honestly too, I think the pageant industry kind of inspires girls, contestants, everybody to follow in some of that entrepreneurial path because you have that network and you're constantly surrounded by entrepreneurs, whether it's your directors or your choreographers or your makeup artists
all support you. And I think that's what I love is that it's so collaborative. So like if you bring up something, they're always like, how can I help you? You know, what can I do to help? So I really lean on that pageant community for that. And I'm so grateful.
Good. Yeah, because for me, it's like I have been able to lean on that pageant community for the web design side. I do help some contestants with their pageant platform websites or their own pageants, or maybe they're starting a business and they need some digital footprint on the side. But then the modeling stuff, it kind of actually has, sometimes it's pageant related. Like there's certain companies that I've met through pageantry or even agencies, but it's not as involved network wise. So kind of pursuing that full-time modeling and the web design side and not having a bi-weekly check coming in, like
but that's going to motivate you to work so much harder.
That's
trust me. And it's like, you know, with your biweekly check, like that's all you're going to get. But imagine like with your own business, like there's no limit. Like the limit does not exist.
Yes. Just like Mean Girls.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's actually something that I wanted to bring up too with misrepresented, something that I think in corporate, a lot of women struggle with is that glass ceiling. You know, I heard about it. I heard it being said. I was kind of like, yeah, whatever. Because my mom, she's like a go-getter, girl boss. Awesome. Yeah, she has her own very successful handbag business now. She does financial services. And so I didn't even know what the glass ceiling was. And then me in corporate, I kind of saw it, how I along with other colleagues of mine had to really fight for our raises or our promotions or even title changes. Wow. There was a time, not this time, but a few years ago on International Women's Day that they were like, no, we just don't see you qualifying. And I gave the entire list of reasons. I made the Excel spreadsheet of every single accomplishment I've done and how much revenue I've generated. And it was really heartbreaking for me. You know, it hurt my ego a lot, but it was also kind of like, I want more for myself. I want to know that there's an option, that the limit does not exist. And with corporate, again, I might be on a tangent.
No, you're fine.
But I feel like a lot of times there is this sense of a scarcity mindset where people feel like, oh, we're limited in resources, we're limited in budget, and because of that we need to lay off X amount of people, or we can't afford this, or we can't have this, or we can't share opportunities. Whereas in the entrepreneurial, and at least for me, maybe I'm in like a rainbow butterfly pageant land, the opportunities are endless. You can always, if you're helping someone else, they will help you times 3 every single time. And so for that, I'm like so grateful to do it. I'm so grateful to try it. But again, in that process now, I'm like, okay, let's just build the foundation. Let's make sure everything's okay. Let's put it all on spreadsheets, software systems, project management tools, and get it all together. Because again, you do so many different businesses, and I know I want to as well, because I have so many different passions between trash fashions and modeling and public speaking. How do you balance it all? Now I feel like I'm interviewing you, because I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Well, first I kind of want to circle back to what you said about the glass ceilings. And I feel like it does exist in entrepreneurship as well, because I feel like what keeps me up at night is like how much more successful I would be if I was born a man, even a gay man. If you look at Sephora, you go into the store, you see Patrick Ta, Makeup by Mario, you know, it's all like male owned brands, and even like higher level in hair and makeup as an artist.
Yes, then you have that like
female makeup
Color Wow
artist.
Dreamcoat guy. I don't know his name.
Chris Appleton, Makeup by Mario. It's all men. Makeup by Ariel, you know? So it's like, I feel like even I have a glass ceiling that I need to shatter to be a celebrity makeup artist, because I do see that clients like to choose men over women, especially at a higher level. So that's my struggle, that's even in the beauty industry.
Yes. And I mean, to me, I had a very large passion as a kid for fashion and fashion brands. And I think the same way with designer brands. You know, a lot of iconic namesakes and people are male designers. And, you know, that's great. We love men. Good job.
They have their own set of challenges, so I applaud them as well.
Yes, but I think especially for brands and services that the mass consumer is at least 90-something% woman, we want to acknowledge that. We want to make sure we get rid of that glass ceiling, and there is opportunity for you to have equal or even higher level. Like, who is the one that I feel like is just killing it? Pat McGrath.
Yeah.
Yes.
Love that.
Like, we need more of that.
Exactly. And I'm so happy for her. So yeah, I just want to see like more female-owned businesses, definitely, and like female makeup artists at the celebrity level. But again, I feel like I see it as a challenge. So
and, you know, I think a lot of it too, it does, like for us, it is that network. So we have the Pageant network, which is amazing.
Yeah,
but it's really small.
Yeah.
It's a really small niche group of people that don't have the names or the people that can then lead you to conglomerates like LVMH to give you an exclusive Sephora line like Fenty Beauty or those other makeup artists that were males that you mentioned, or, you know, like whatever it may be. Like, and also too, I think on like the side from that, a lot of female influencers and just female figures that the one thing I can't stand in terms of like, which is why we have misrepresented, is the media is so quick to cancel
so quick,
and any little thing a woman does, and I quote, like, wrong, that a male does,
and it's usually like about looks. Like, I brought back my YouTube channel like yesterday, and literally one of the reasons why I quit was because of all the comments that I got about my looks.
Oh my
like, she's old, she's ugly. Like, they would just tear me apart on things that I can't really change.
Yes.
And I have changed some things that I got.
Yeah.
And comments that I'm like, yeah, I got my nose done. Like,
they're not gonna like you either way. They're not gonna like you because you got it. They're not gonna like you because you didn't get it. It's just,
but it's so superficial.
There's a negative subconscious towards women in the media, and it's very shameful. Or like, just go to your grocery store and look at where all those tabloids and magazines are.
Oh my gosh.
90% of them are about women with gaining weight, losing weight, whatever. Literally. Like, it's a picture from 20 years ago. Like, get a grip, you know? Just the types of things that I feel like and again, I'm like, is it media? Is it society? Is it even TikTok? I think For You pages and stuff that I've seen, again, people are so quick to call on a woman's, again,
anything
silly, like the false lash was not glued all the way. Yeah, some nonsense. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
This is so ridiculous. It's brutal out there. Oh my gosh.
I feel like media and society and people gave the same amount of forgiveness, or at least compensated it with more encouragement and more opportunities as men that do the same exact thing, then we can move on, you know, and we can break that glass ceiling. Yeah. Eventually, sure. we'll do it. And I mean, that's why I'm so glad you have this podcast, because that does create that platform, that does create that conversation for people to acknowledge it. And then maybe they post on their TikTok next time they're about to cancel someone, like, oh, you know what? Maybe it's not so bad. Or how about we cancel a man for once? Like, would that hurt? Is that wrong? I'm just saying. Like,
so back to the question.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so I saw this like really interesting post on Instagram this morning, and it was like, a CEO's job is to hire people that will do their job better than them. So I feel like that applies to me. And like, in the beginning, I did everything by myself. I was spread thin.
Me right now. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. It's scary, but you have to put in your time. I feel like even Ramina's going through that right now. I went through it for years, but once you hire people that can do your job better than you, it's like such a relief. Like, now I feel like I can breathe, and it's scary to hire people on a salary and you pay them and you lose that money.
Yeah.
But it's so worth the investment, and they're helping my company grow so much. So hopefully you're seeing more of like a presence on social media and my brand growing.
Yes.
But as far as in the beginning, it was so hard.
Yeah. And like, when did you get to a point that you could outsource somebody else to do the job better than you? Because I mean, I've just started, you know what I mean? Like, and I've done these other things like web design and modeling on the side for quite some time, but I don't see any time soon I'm at that point.
And that's okay, because I feel like I had to go through a lot of phases where I hired people that just were not delivering what I expected, and nobody's going to care as much about your business as you do.
1,000%.
So they don't do it the way that you're used to, and, you know, they don't meet your expectations, and sometimes you're throwing away money. Like, you know, they say they'll do something and they never do, and you're just throwing money away. So it's a lot of trial and error. And I'm sure that's what you're scared of, is like hiring the wrong person.
100%. I am like, and it's so funny because the last episode I was like, if you're scared, just do it. And now I'm like, doing it. And I'm scared and I don't want to. And I'm still kind of like,
no, you're going to be so successful. And you know what? Like, I feel like it's like a pageant. You get what you put into it.
Yes.
So just put in the work.
Even if it's not the title or the crown, but something better can happen out of it. Even if it's your top 5 placement, but then you get the sponsorship.
Exactly. Yeah.
So. For me, I'm hoping, because again, that same thing happened with Miss Florida USA. The same thing happened years ago when I did Miss Florida's Outstanding Teen. And that was like my dream, my goal. I think I just need to realign my vision and my goals. Whereas, coming into 2024, I was like, yeah, I'm going to work on IT and project management. Yep. I'm going to get these Microsoft certifications. I'm like, well, that goes out the window. Now I got to change it all over again. But again, there is so many different things that I'm interested in doing. And I'm like, now's my chance to really go all in on those. But I am getting overwhelmed. I am stretching myself too thin.
I want to hear like where you're at right now. Like what point are you at right now?
So I am working more towards my modeling again. I'm looking into other cities like New York City, modeling more in Miami. I'm hoping to work more in e-com because honestly, that is where the money is at right now, or even more in commercial print, just kind of focusing on, okay, now that I don't have this salary, where can I really monetize as a model? And I think, unfortunately, and I hate to say this, but in both the pageant industry and modeling industry, I've seen a lot of these people not do too well in their businesses. And that's why I held so closely to that corporate job, because I didn't want to, end up in that type of situation. So I am trying to like strategically plan, how am I going to go about it? How am I going to change my brand to focus on those things? So that's the modeling side. Web design, now, again, I've had this like to-do list, checklist of all my clients. Also, in a way, like I'm my own client, and I'm sure you understand how that is, where it's like I have my web design business that I need to rebuild and revamp. I have my nonprofit Teens Go Green that I also need to edit the website for and figure out the admin work. I think something that they don't talk about going from corporate to entrepreneurship is those taxes, healthcare. Healthcare is so complicated. There's these like loops, and then you have to estimate your income, and you don't really know because you're starting, in order to determine your premium tax credits, but then your premiums are also a business expense, so then that also affects your income. There's so many little components that I feel like the IRS purposely makes really complicated.
But you can use it to your advantage, remember. So there are a lot of like great loopholes, I feel like, that as an entrepreneur you can use. So you can like expense a lot of things. So it can be friendly, but it's definitely like April is a time of month where like I dread it.
And you have to know those things too. Like you don't know unless you really take the research, or you have like an entrepreneurship mentor or group or somebody to really understand how all those pieces work. Because no matter what, like I want to make sure, should I be audited, like I have all my ducks in a row, all my I's dotted, T's crossed,
I learned that like having a good bookkeeper is probably worth the investment. So I did hire like an accounting team. They do my books. That is like one of my biggest recommendations, is to have someone do
Even my
books.
Mom recommended QuickBooks, and I was like, I'm not ready to pay $75 a month. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not ready for any of that right now. I just feel like I'm at this scrappy point where I am doing absolutely everything and I'm figuring it out. And then on top of that too, that this was something I mentioned earlier in the last episode about having kind of like an online pageant community, like Lashes and Sashes.
Yeah, love that.
I love the idea. I love it because pageants have been ingrained in my life for 20 years. But the reason why I've held back from ever doing it is because I don't have a track record of monetizing off pageantry. It's only been a passion. And in fact, I lose a lot of money. Like,
trust me, I know.
am the consumer, even of your eyelashes and everything I've purchased from you. Like,
oh my god.
So I'm kind of like holding back because I don't even know where I would begin to really monetize. And again, I look at a lot of pageant directors, they're doing it because they love it. And, you think about the expenses of ballroom, stages, production,
they
staff.
Lose a lot of money.
Exactly.
A lot of directors lose money.
Exactly.
And we really take them for granted. I think we need to appreciate directors a little bit more.
1,000,000,000%, because they're really running the show. And without directors, you would just have no pageant and purchase your crown and sash on eBay, and you lose the whole point of the sport.
Exactly.
Like, the pageant is not the pageant without the director who really makes the competition happen. And then you think about some other directors, like those local ones at like Miss America organizations, where they train the girls and they provide them sponsors and they do everything above and beyond. It's incredible what they do, and they're so undervalued and underappreciated, like teachers. And I think,
for sure.
And so for me, I am kind of like, okay, what can I do and ensure that it's, again, it might be that ego thing. Like, I don't know where I would monetize it because I love pageants so much. And it's even, people have asked me like, well, why don't you do pageant coaching? You've done it for so long. You have a lot of experience. And I do take those things too personally. Like, there was, I think there was a girl that I worked with once who didn't tell me she was like working with another coach or something. And I took it so personally. It wasn't that personal.
Okay.
But I'm a very emotional person. So I was just like, oh no, there's something I did wrong. She didn't talk to me about it.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't want my personal emotions to get in the way.
Yeah.
And, even as I say that out loud, I'm like, is that my own internalized misogyny?
No.
Is that like, what's going on here? Is this why there's a glass ceiling? Like,
oh my gosh, maybe.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, I feel that way too with like hair and makeup, and like they use another hair and makeup artist. I'm like, what? But, it's just, you have to grow out of it and just be grateful for the clients that do stick with you.
True.
Yeah.
And even the new ones that come in. And so for me, it's like with this pageant community, I haven't created it yet, but ideally it is part podcast, sharing about pageants, removing the negative stigma, and then kind of like that online stuff, because of my work with DigitELLE and my web design and blogging, search engine optimization. I want to use that knowledge that I have to create something, and then hopefully, and this might be because in Miami for probably 6 months or so, I really struggled to find friends. Like, I want a community. I want a group of people who are like-minded, empowered women to all be comfortable with each other, all have the opportunity to be together, talk about pageant questions, talk about pageant anything, except pageant gossip, because that's just not the space for it. But elsewhere, outside of that. So, yes.
I want to learn more about DigitELLE, because I feel like that's something that our listeners could really take advantage of. And like, I'm interested because I'm looking for like somebody to do my website and my SEO and stuff. And I don't hate me. I've been looking on like Fiverr, because
no, of course.
Is that like super competitive pricing? And like, do you feel like a lot of people are outsourcing like SEO and web design?
Yes. And it's so funny because even web designers, so not me, because I'm kind of not a micromanager, but I like being involved in the process and helping, because I like that startup culture. But most web designers I know outsource other web designers and marketing people.
Wow.
And then they outsource other web designers and marketing people.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just this never ending loop of outsourcing people. It's so weird.
Wow.
And so, yes, I can't blame you. If you don't know somebody who builds websites, and if you're kind of like me, scrappy, starting off your business, being so mindful of your budget and your costs and whatever, like, it is scary to hire somebody who does it full-time in a full-fledged marketing agency, because you're like for me, if I'm telling you I don't have money for QuickBooks, you know what I mean? What makes me feel like, and that's also where I struggle with like my rates and whatever, getting all that figured out and making sure that I'm confident and I know that my experience is worthwhile, because I know I'm more qualified than somebody, let's say like a overseas Joe Schmo from Fiverr. But it's more about the connection. If they know me as a person, a lot of times the businesses and clients that I work with, they are very similar to what I do. So whether it's like a pageant platform or a motivational speaker who speaks on her platform full time, then I know what that sells. I know what that's about. So DigitELLE is focused mostly on the web design that I do, but basically any sort of business solution or digital design. So through web design, maybe they need social media content that ties in because it helps with SEO, or they want Pinterest content because it gets it higher, or in their Google My Business, you need additional posts in there. So basically in that realm of digital marketing and support on that end, I really love working with people who are building their businesses from the ground up and
so is your
setting
dream
that foundation.
client like a startup?
Now, I don't even know if it's necessarily my dream client, but that's kind of what I've worked with right now. And like because I'm also doing that, like I love working with them, and we're all just kind of like working on it together, and even at some points like helping each other. One of mine that I love, Form to Fashion, they do fashion education for kids K through 12.
Oh my gosh.
And it's so cute because
that's so empowering.
It's not just the business of fashion, but even the math components of fashion, the history of fashion, the components of it, like cotton, and the implications of how it is expanded in the world. Like when you make education cool and modern and standard, and the fact that I could be involved to that degree has been such a blessing in itself. So I've really enjoyed working with all my clients because they have very unique stories, and I like, in the same way I liked making my pageant evening gowns, I like customizing things specifically to what that client has. So maybe they already have a Wix or WordPress or GoDaddy website. No problem. We'll figure it out. We'll see what I can do. We'll see where my bandwidth is. I don't outsource other people at this time. And if I will, when I get to that point, I'll make sure they're good. But for now, it's just me. I did web design in my master's at University of Florida. I've been building websites, doing blogs and things, and SEO content for now, I would say, let's see, I graduated there 2020. So 4 years of like really hardcore web designing. But in 2018 is really when I started the search engine optimization content.
Which I think is so important. I feel like a lot of companies can generate so much money from that. I kind of want to know, like, what would you do with the LadyCode shop website? Like if I just like passed you the reins and was like, redo my whole website, what would you do for my brand?
Do you want design or SEO?
Definitely both, but we'll just say SEO is a given.
Yes, because I feel like you, and I will be very transparent, if you want to work with someone else, or we don't see if it's a good fit, or even I don't see it's a good fit, I don't want to sing and dance and con man you into anything. Because to me, I'm like, you already have a good design, good brand, good things. I don't think you need me to kind of tell you like, oh, this looks like a certain way. Maybe
I'm looking for a facelift, literally.
Stop it.
And like right back to like what I was
You listen to too many negative YouTube comments. That's why.
Okay. I'm just like, I could like use a little updating. It's been a while. And I do want to hire people that know more about my website than I do, and that know more about my brand than I do, and that can do better than what I could do. That's why I hire people,
Yes. And I think for the SEO side of things, you have so much. You have like over 1 million followers on Instagram. You've been featured in all these different highly ranked large domain authority contents, whether it's Harper's Bazaar or Glamour Official, whatever, that you can hyperlink that content from your LadyCode, because obviously they're all asking about you.
Okay, now
so
send
that
me an invoice,
increases.
That was like money advice right there.
It's true. And,
why haven't I been doing that? Oh my
you
gosh.
didn't know. You don't know, and I don't talk about it enough because I'm too scared. So here we are. Like,
brilliant.
So you have so many different things. It's kind of like with Allison too. She has so much good content as an influencer, along with her side businesses. You can tailor all of that, hyperlink it, external backlinks, share that information with all your images. Make sure you put that brand in, and then with your Google My Business, making posts, the same posts you post on social media, putting it on your Google My Business, so then you're higher ranked on Google too.
Wow.
So those are just 2 tidbits, but there's more. If you work with me,
I love it.
Call.
No, I'm just kidding. 1-800-Kelly. Wow, that is so awesome. So who's like your ideal client? Like, what do you want to see like people come to you for?
I would love actually someone like you.
Like
and I'm not just, e-com, but also you have already established your business, so you're looking to make more out of it or enhance it in ways that you didn't expect, because I know I can go to you. Whereas I love my clients right now, but at that time, they're in that same position that I was in while I was in corporate, where it's not something that they're really depending on right now. It's something that they do on the side.
Got it.
So long term, of course, I would love to work with other entrepreneurs and actually other corporate businesses too that would like those types of enhancements and things from someone like me would be ideal. But again, it's kind of like I want to do that. And I also want to build out my pageant lashes and sashes community. So I need to tie both of them.
But they go hand in hand, because like everything that you're doing with lashes and sashes, you know, you're learning, and then you can apply that to your clients as well. And
exactly.
See what works.
And in a way too, like my goal for that thing is, one, like dispel that idea that pageantry is outdated and anti-feminist. Like that's
it's the opposite.
Yeah, further from the truth, at least in our experiences. And most of all, that pageants are such a good platform and launchpad to absolutely anything you set your mind to. So for me, it's sharing those personal stories and experiences on how pageants led me to web design, how pageants led me to my trash fashion nonprofit, which then led to all those crazy TLC, TEDx, whatever, you name it. And that's like kind of where my heart is going. So I'm like, okay, my brain tells me I need to make money doing this, but my heart tells me I want to do this. But I need to like combine both of them and figure out how to make it happen. And so that's why I feel like I'm getting business consulting from you too, because I'm like, what do I do?
Well, you know, like LadyCode in the beginning originally was like lashes and sashes. It was a women's empowerment platform, and we just provided free resources.
You know, I was
tutorials,
when like we first met. So I don't even know if you remember this. It was so long ago. I don't think we actually met, but I was following you on Instagram, and I thought you were cool, and you had LadyCode, and I emailed you. And I wanted to be a guest writer.
Were you? You were? Oh my gosh.
And we didn't even meet yet. And I saw you at like a Miss Florida USA pageant. And that's when we took our first picture.
So you've seen the whole journey, like the whole process.
Yeah.
And it's like these like products and services came as like, you know, little branches that sprouted from LadyCode. But it was always like the foundation was women empowerment.
That's right. Your LadyCode was my lashes and sashes now.
Exactly.
Full circle. I'm like mind blown. Even I forgot. Yeah.
You know, like this isn't making money, let's be honest, you know, but it's like such an empowering platform, and I feel like this is just what I love to do.
Okay. And if anything, it's almost a marketing tool for your other businesses.
Right.
Too,
like we're wearing LadyCode earrings.
Yes, yes. I didn't have an earring back, to be honest. That's why. Yes.
Oh well, then it did a great job.
Yes. Okay.
You know, but I just feel like I just love doing this, and this is like a hobby for me, but it's also so empowering, and I learned so much from all of my guests, and it's just, I don't know, I love it. So I feel like Lashes and Sashes will be a monetized platform very soon, and I hope whatever it is, it'll come to you. So don't force it. You're gonna get this idea, and it'll just be handed to you. The same way, like I feel like all my businesses just fell on my lap.
Wow.
Just do what you love.
See, but I'm not, you're a lot more spontaneous than I am. I'm more type A, where like everything is like an Excel color-coded spreadsheet and whatever. Like even me, I had like for this, I was like, okay, I'm going to do a 1 hour commute because I don't know how far it's going to be with the traffic on 95. So that's light purple and it's going to be here. And then this one. And then when I come back, here's where I'm going to go stop by based on my GPS. I'm like logistics crazy. That's actually another thing that I do.
You know that TikTok audio that's like, I'm spinning like a ballerina? That's me.
That's
you.
Me.
You're
and
I'm
one. Like go with the flow, but what time does the flow start? Like I am super like, okay, let's make this. And so, and that's also actually a huge reason why I'm so kind of scared with this whole entrepreneur thing, because I'm like, this is the first time I don't have like a real plan. And I need to create one, and it's not falling on my lap yet, and I don't have the patience. That's why. It's because I'm very impatient.
It takes a lot of patience
to like kind of go with the flow and make things happen. And I'm now like open to more last minute requests and things, and even like social plans. I'm like, okay, I'll show up at 7 o'clock. Let me just, coordinate my driving and my parking and this and whatever and my clothes and this. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there slowly. But whereas with corporate, it's like, okay, I know what time it starts. I know what time it ends. Everything has
so
meeting
stable.
blocks.
But
it's so stable.
Boring.
See, I love that boring admin Excel spreadsheet schedule.
Wow.
But I think on the other side, though, with corporate, I don't have to worry about kind of like, oh, are people taking me seriously? Or, in some cases, whether it was myself or other colleagues, like, oh, they were assumed to have tasks in assistant or administrative roles. And I think another part of it too, whether it's in corporate or in any situation, you have to look at the men that you are around, and even boyfriends or significant others, like, what have they seen in other women, ideally, you know, in their moms or past significant others or sisters, you name it. And if they've only seen their wife in a certain role as the domestic partner who takes care of the house, who takes care of the him, who provides for him, not in the financial way, they may also subconsciously see a woman incorporate in that assistant, caregiver, nurturing role, which a lot of times they are. And a lot of times it makes sense. It can be, but it's not always that way. I think the goal in whether it's women in corporate, women in entrepreneurship, it's to make sure that we have the option. Exactly. We can choose to be the housewife, the stay-at-home mom, the corporate or baddie, or all of those things. And we can't be limited to that box or that paradigm that either the man that's only seen that in his life with those women or in the media and public's tabloids of what they depict women to be.
Wow. Okay. Last tangent before we wrap it up, because you just like brought up an interesting point, is that I feel like the more successful and ambitious you are as a woman, the less men want to be with you.
Oh, I saw that before. I think because I look at you and your partner's above and beyond supportive of you. I feel like
I got lucky.
Okay, fair enough. It depends. I think if the man is intimidated by an extremely successful woman, then I think that's their own problem, and they need to work on themselves to get to that point. And I do think, your options are limited, because as a successful woman, you don't want to be surrounded by scrubs.
No,
like you
don't
want
somebody more successful than you. Like, I will never be a sugar mama. That's for sure.
At least you're equal, but ideally even someone more. You know, and again, I think it depends on each person. Maybe not. Maybe they do want to be the provider, and the man worships the ground she walks on. And either way, I think a man can still do that. But in terms of like the success, again, I think it's just, you really got to find them. Like, I know there's plenty of fish in the sea, but it depends on the fish, you know, how much plastic do they have inside their bodies? How much, you know what I mean? Like, what part of the ocean are they, where the oil spill was? Like, you know, so you just got to filter it out and know what you want and know what you're going for. Because sure, on paper, I look great, but like, personality wise, do we mesh? Most of all, your values. What do you stand for? Do you believe in honesty? How do you communicate? I think is the number one thing. Because if you're quiet, and maybe quiet works with quiet, but like, I'm a chatterbox clearly, and I need someone who not only can chatter with me back, but can listen, you know, and take that in. And that's a lot to go through. So you really have to go through a very thorough vetting process. And even my former boss was like, look, if you could do that with finding your man, you could do that with your business. And I'm like, I know, but I'm scared and I don't know how to put this on an Excel sheet.
But I'm so happy you found your man. You guys are amazing together.
Thank you.
What a gem. You found him in Miami?
Yes.
Wow.
I know.
But he's not from here, right?
He is born and raised. You couldn't believe it.
Well, actually, you know what? The born and raised ones are the normal ones. I
think
but
local
ones...
It's the thing is, okay, and this is another thing I posted on TikTok too. Brickell is not Miami.
I saw that one.
Brickell is just one teeny tiny component of transplants who think it's little New York, which in a way it kind of is like a little New York City. And then the rest of Miami is so much more. Like, you've got like all these different areas, ranches, plants, nurseries. I'm just talking about all the animal, plant, nature stuff. But there's way more in Miami-Dade County as a whole of good, wholesome people that you can find. Like, one of my favorite places, like country line dancing once a week.
I saw that. I love that. That's in Davie.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But they also have one in Homestead.
Okay.
So I go to the Davie one all the time. Like, you need to go with me.
Yeah,
one day.
If I'm ever here, because I feel like you're teaching me about Miami. You know, I'm like, Brickell. I was there.
How long have you lived in Miami?
So I've been paying rent here since like 2013. I went to New York for 2 years and then came back.
I lived in Miami since 2013.
Okay, cool.
Wow. So you've been 10 years, 11 years.
Yeah. So I can say I'm like pretty much a local, except I'm never here. So I feel like this is like the one day out of the month that I'm here.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Oh, then why are you here if you're not really here?
I don't know. I feel like my roots are here. I feel like, okay, well, my hair guy is here.
Oh, okay.
Our studio is here, you know, like I feel like
this
is just home base. It's just
Interesting.
convenient. And I like living close to like an international airport. That's really important to me. So being 5 minutes away from my international.
And honestly, of all the international airports, like compared to LAX and LaGuardia, JFK, like I'm like, Miami's actually pretty
it's not that
good,
bad.
you know? Like, I'm not mad about it. So
it's a direct flight from anywhere.
Yes. Okay, that does make sense.
I think that's about it.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so we're like way over time, but I hope you guys love this episode as much as I did. I feel like we caught up, and I could go on and on. So
I know.
You can come back anytime.
I have an you're too sweet. You know, because I was like, nobody asked for this, but I'm going to reach out and give you my life updates.
So. No, but I'm so happy you did. It's so perfect.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you. Okay.
I love that. Okay, so where can we follow you?
Miss Elizabeth Tran on Instagram and TikTok. You can follow DigitELLE. So it's digit.elle on Instagram as well, or digitelle.com, but instead of a period, it's a hyphen. This is also very annoying.
And then it's ELI, right?
Yes, ELI. So I've always wanted to be named Ellie. Like once I was about 20 years old, I was like, Ellie would have been a cute nickname for me, but it never happened. And I was like, I don't want to be Lizzie. I want to be Elizabeth. And I'm like,
wait, I've always wanted to be Elizabeth because my name is only Lisa, and they think it's short for Elizabeth. And I'm like, I wish I had a longer name.
Yeah. Wow. No, I always wanted to be Elizabeth, and I was like, I wish I was Elle or Ellie. I think because of Legally Blonde.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She's iconic.
Yep. So now that's my website business name.
I love that. And where can like people that are interested in hiring you for web services reach out to you? So
you can do the Instagram. You can email me at elevationenterprises@gmail.com. It's kind of a mouthful. So if anything, you can go again through, and honestly, you can reach me anywhere, social platforms. Like right now, DMs. Again, I'm at the scrappy moment where I am everywhere and nowhere all at once. So you can reach me anywhere.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.